3 bone-chilling true summer vacation horror stories that haunted me forever. The sun hung high in the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper secrets through the trees. A cool breeze sent shivers down my spine. I didn't know it then, but that vacation, filled with laughter and warmth, would twist into a nightmare I'd carry forever. It started in the quietest of places, a family cabin deep in the woods, surrounded by gnarled trees that looked like they had stories to tell. The locals warned us there was an old tale about a spirit that roamed those woods, a lost soul searching for something that could never be found. My grandma brushed it off as just folklore. But as night fell, the air shifted. The porch creaked underfoot, a sound that echoed ominously. My cousins and I huddled around a flickering campfire, roasting marshmallows. The flames danced wildly, casting eerie shadows on our faces. That's when Jenny, the youngest, shared the first strange occurrence. She insisted she saw a figure peeking through the trees, a whisper of white that vanished before she could blink. Laughter erupted, but a knot tightened in my stomach. It was just a story, right? But then, I noticed the chill creeping into the air, an icy hand wrapping around my heart. As darkness enveloped us, the chirping of the crickets stopped. A tense silence stretched, broken only by an abrupt rustle in the brush. My heart raced. "Did you hear that?" I barely managed to whisper, my voice unsteady. The laughter faded, eyes widened. We all felt it, that electric spark of fear. What had started as playful teasing turned into a desperate game of glances. In the depths of the forest, something was watching, and it wasn't friendly. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In that thick silence, everything felt off. The hairs on my neck stood up, I could barely control my trembling hands. As we tried to shake off the chill with laughter, Jenny's face blanched. "I saw it again," she insisted, her voice barely a whisper. "In the window of the cabin." My heart sank. We had a tradition of sleeping inside, but that night, sleep felt miles away. We huddled closer, the shadows feeling less like friends and more like lurking enemies. Just then, a loud thump came from inside the cabin, a chilling sound that echoed like a gunshot in the stillness. The door creaked open slowly, as if inviting us into darkness. "Go see what it is," someone dared to say, and the challenge hung heavily in the air. We moved as a unit, fear binding us together. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a scream in the night as we approached the grim space. What waited for us inside that cabin? The lost spirit, lingering in the dark? Or something worse? The door swung open, the darkness spilling out like thick fog, obscuring everything in its path. We exchanged hesitant glances, hearts pounding like war drums in our chests. Every instinct screamed for us to turn back, yet an invisible force pulled us in. We took a cautious step over the threshold, the splintered floorboards groaning under our weight. The cabin smelled of damp wood and something else, something rotten. My eyes adjusted just enough to barely make out the outlines of furniture draped in ghostly white sheets, like spectral remnants of a life once lived here. The air felt heavy, suffocating as we ventured deeper, recoiling from fleeting shadows as they danced in the corners of our vision. "What was that thump?" Kyle murmured, his voice barely a whisper. Before anyone could respond, a second thump echoed from somewhere deep inside the cabin, vibrating through the wooden walls. My heart jumped. "Is anyone here?" I called out, more bravado than belief. My voice trembled, swallowed by the cavernous emptiness. "Let us just look around and get this over with," said Jacob, the bravest of us, though it felt more like a mad plunge into insanity. We shuffled into the living area, our flashlight beam slicing through the dark, revealing dust motes that hung like tiny stars suspended in a black void. Then Jenny gasped, pointing toward a door at the back of the room with a rusty doorknob that jutted out like a crooked tooth. It's open." The door hung ajar, a crack revealing darkness beyond. The urge to flee battled against an inexplicable pull toward that door. As we edged closer, the air thickened, an oppressive weight pressing down on us. I could feel it, the very essence of fear creeping in, clawing at my mind, whispering warnings I couldn't shake off. No one spoke, the only sounds our hesitant breaths and the rhythmic pulse of our hearts. "Are you guys sure about this?" I finally broke the silence, glancing at my cousins. Their faces were pale under the flickering light, eyes wide with both anticipation and dread. Before anyone could answer, the door creaked open wider, seemingly on its own. An icy gust of wind rushed past us, extinguishing our campfire outside and plunging the cabin into darkness. The flashlights flickered, and the shadows surged closer, forming shapes that loomed just beyond the reach of our light beams. "Turn them back on," Jenny shrieked, her voice cracking with fear. We fumbled with our flashlights, panic seizing us as the darkness closed in. Then came a soft sob, a sound so fragile it almost didn't belong in this terrifying place. We froze, exchanging terrified looks, wondering if we had all heard it. The sobbing grew louder, echoing through the cabin, warm yet chilling. It tugged at something deep inside us, a call for help, a plea laced with sorrow. "Who's in there?" I called out again, my voice shaking. "Are you okay?" The sobbing stopped suddenly, replaced by a chilling silence. Then a voice floated back, weak and trembling. "Help me!" Suddenly, the furniture around us began to rattle violently, as if the very cabin was shaking with rage. Desperate, I grabbed Jenny's hand, leading the way back toward the door. "Out! We've got to get out!" I shouted as I pulled her, pushing against the chaos. The others followed, fear flooding our lungs like a tidal wave. Just as we reached the door, it slammed shut, trapping us inside. An overwhelming presence loomed in the dark, and the sobbing turned into laughter, dark, hollow, echoing all around us. What had we awakened? What hunted us in the abyss of this cursed cabin? I dared not look back, fear clawing at my throat, but behind the door, the laughter grew louder, infinitely closer, drowning out the sound of our beating hearts. We were trapped, ensnared in a web of horrors beyond our imagination. Yet as terror settled in, I couldn't shake the thought, what had that voice meant? There was something deeper beneath the surface, something waiting to be uncovered. Something we had to confront. Would we ever find the way out? Or would the truth become our greatest nightmare? The cabin felt like it was breathing, its walls alive with a pulse of fear that matched our frantic hearts. I pressed my back against the door, cold and unyielding, and felt the wood vibrate as laughter reverberated through the air, heavy and mocking. "Help me!" The single tearful plea haunted me. It rang in my ears, urgent and desperate. My throat tightened as if to suppress a scream that threatened to burst forth. I could see Kyle trembling beside me, his face ghostly pale, and Jacob's hands were balled into tight fists, knuckles white as they gripped the air. Suddenly, the lights flickered back to life for a brief moment, illuminating the dark corners of the room. My heart raced as I caught sight of a figure faint and shadowy hovering just beyond the threshold of the ajar door. A glimpse of pale skin and hollow eyes, fading in and out of focus, like a memory grasping to be remembered. "Don't look! Don't look!" Jenny hissed, but it was too late. That fleeting image burned into my mind, and I felt an overwhelming pull, a connection that was undeniable. I had to know what it was. "Let us not panic," Jacob said, forcing his voice to remain calm. "We need to find a way out, not give in to whatever this is." But was it really a good idea to move? The air thickened again, a heavy layer of dread cloaking our senses. "Door!" Kyle shouted suddenly, eyeing the only other exit on the far side of the room. "We can use that door." Without thinking, we raced toward it, but the walls trembled, and the laughter morphed into something sinister. "You shouldn't have come here," it taunted, echoing from all around. The room seemed to close in, the shadows thickening like fog. The door was an ancient relic, its metal handle rusted and cold. I tried to yank it open, but it wouldn't budge. Panic surged within me as I pressed my shoulder against it. "Help me!" I cried out in desperation, a united effort against the growing insanity. Suddenly, Jacob's flashlight flickered and went out, plunging us into deeper darkness. "No! Come on!" he shouted, flicking it frantically, but the battery was dead. The oppressive heaviness wrapped tighter around us. I felt my breath quicken, the cold wrapping around me like icy chains. The sobbing returned, louder now, but the sound had shifted. It was layered now, mixed with cries of anger and despair. "Help! Let me out!" There were multiple voices, overlapping, drowning each other out. It became chaotic and cacophony of dread echoing off the wooden walls. "Run!" I yelled, instincts kicking in as adrenaline surged through my veins. I dashed back toward the front door, shoving past my cousins. With surprising force, I slammed my shoulder against it over and over until it finally creaked open, revealing a sliver of moonlight beyond. The laughter erupted again, more furious, drowning out every rational thought. Outside was a twisted landscape of trees, their branches clawing at the moon, while an unsettling wind howled through the darkness. Freedom lay just a step away, and yet, an unseen weight held me back, challenging me to confront the horror within. "Stop! We can't leave. What if that voice is real?" Jacob's plea cut through the chaos, grounding me for a moment. The thought of a help left behind crept into my mind, wrapping tighter than the fear. But at what cost? We have to choose. Either we save ourselves, or we risk it all. My breath caught in my throat, the decision suffocating me. And then, a sound came from behind us, one that froze my blood. A scratching, relentless and raw, began at the door. It was getting closer, and whatever was behind it was angry. "Help me," the voice moaned, now a deep, bone-chilling whisper. We had seconds to decide. Would we flee into the darkness, or would we turn back for the chance of something beyond the walls of hopelessness? The shadows writhed, reaching for us, waiting, and somewhere in that suffocating dark, the answer unleashed itself, ready to claim us all. What would we uncover if we dared to remain? Or would the secrets of this forsaken place swallow us whole? The door shuddered as the scratching intensified, like nails clawing against the wood. Fear rushed through me, sharp and electrifying. My body screamed to flee, to dive into the night, and yet that voice, the plea for help, wrapped around my heart like a vice. I glanced at my cousins, their faces painted with stark terror. "Stay together!" I shouted, my voice barely rising above the chaos. But Kyle was already inching backward, his wide eyes locked on the door as if something were about to burst through. "Help me, please," the voice was insistent now. It wasn't just a whisper anymore. With every repetition, it became more desperate, more human. "Shut up!" Jenny shouted suddenly, her hands pressed over her ears as if blocking out a reality too horrific to confront. We were trapped between two horrors, the unknown beyond the door and whatever lurked behind it. That I could see Jacob's brows knit in determination. "We have to go. Now," he insisted. Yet, his voice wobbled, betraying the fear that coursed through him too. I felt my chest tighten as uncertainty clouded my thoughts. That could be someone's last moment of hope. I cried, feeling the weight of my indecision pressing down heavily. Suddenly, the scratching stopped. Silence engulfed us, invasive and suffocating, leaving only the frantic beating of our hearts. An unsettling stillness crept through the air, and for a moment, I dared to hope the voice had quieted. Perhaps it was gone. But then came a loud thud, shaking the very foundation of the cabin as if something was pushing against the door with terrible force. "Run!" Jacob screamed, and his words shattered the stillness, breaking the spell of paralyzing fear that held us captive. We bolted outside, the cool night air hit my face like a splash of water, refreshing yet chilling. I stumbled onto the uneven ground, wild branches whipping past like claws reaching for us. Moonlight slashed across the wooded expanse, illuminating the path ahead with ghostly brilliance. Where do we even go? I gasped, glancing behind us anxiously, expecting something monstrous to forsake the darkness and leap into view. Over there. Kyle pointed toward a narrow trail that twisted between towering trees, taken by panic and urgency. As we dashed down the path, I could hear the laughter rising in the darkness, an echo once more, ricocheting through the treetops. It morphed, weaving through the air, taunting us, urging us to turn back to the cabin that tormented us. Breathless, we pushed forward, branches lashing at our faces. But I couldn't shake it off, an overpowering sensation, like icy fingers brushing my shoulders almost affectionately. It made every hair on my body stand at attention. And then, just as we rounded a bend, I caught sight of a clearing ahead. My heart leaped, a reprieve in the nightmare. However, the relief was short-lived. In the center of the clearing stood a dilapidated shack, old and decrepit, its windows shattered, and the door gaping open as if inviting us in. "We can't go in there," Jenny shouted. "It's another trap." But Kyle halted, his breath ragged as he pointed. "Look!" There, just beyond the threshold, gleaming under the moonlight, was a figure, a girl, emerald eyes filled with raw terror. She was reaching out to us, her mouth moving urgently, yet no sound escaped her lips. "Help me," she mouthed, her face pale, mirroring our own despair. But who was she? I hesitated, torn once again, caught in a web of curiosity and dread. The shadows danced around her, swirling and shifting, a storm of darkness too enticing to ignore. "Do we dare?" I whispered, the question hanging heavy in the air, as if the forest held its breath with me, waiting for our next move. In that moment, I knew our choice could either seal our fates or set us free. Would we follow the light into that cursed shack, or run into the woods, never looking back? How deep did the darkness go, and what truths lay hidden within that haunted sanctuary? As the wind howled around us, echoing with twisted laughter, I realized something far worse was coming. Something that would test the bonds between us and challenge the very nature of survival itself. What would we find if we dared to step closer? The girl's pleading gaze held me captive. I felt the weight of her fear pressing down on my soul, and in that moment, every instinct screamed at me to push through the dread and believe in rescue. "Don't go." Jenny pulled at my arm, panic etched on her face. Her voice trembled, ricocheting through the stillness of the night. She could be a trap. But the girl's eyes glittered with something deeper, something desperate, an honest plea for help that cut through the fear like a knife. "Maybe she knows what's out here," I urged, glancing back at Kyle and Jacob. Their faces were a mix of terror and intrigue. "What if she leads us to more danger?" Kyle whispered, backing up slightly, his eyes darting into the void surrounding us as if expecting a dark figure to emerge from the trees. "Look," I pointed toward the girl, pleading with them through the silence, "she's scared just like us. We can't just leave her." With a hesitant nod, Jacob stepped forward, hands outstretched, pulling us along. "We need to find out the truth. Let us just be careful." As we approached the shack, shadows twisted around us, tendrils of darkness grasping insistently. I could almost feel them cautioning us to turn back. Every instinct told me the shack was a portal to a deeper nightmare. Yet the compelling shine of the girl's eyes urged us to take that risk. I stepped through the broken doorframe, each creak of the wood beneath my feet echoing like thunder in my ears. Dust motes danced in the eerie light filtering through the shattered window, illuminating the chaos inside, overturned furniture, peeling wallpaper, remnants of a long-abandoned life. "Where are you?" Jacob called, his voice trembling. "Over here." The girl's voice finally broke through the silence, soft yet strained. She was kneeling near the back of the shack, her thin form huddled as if shielding something. "What happened?" I asked, dread pooling in my stomach as we closed in. "What's chasing you?" With shaking hands, she revealed a small, battered jewelry box, its lid cracked. "I was looking for it," she whispered, voice nearly lost in the shadows. "It kept calling me. I thought if I found it, I'd be safe." I leaned closer, daring to take the box, but the instant my fingers brushed against it, a cold shock wave surged through me. Images flashed, faces twisted in sorrow, shadows reaching out like desperate hands, a foreboding laughter reverberating in the air. "We need to get out," Jenny screamed, her voice cracking with fear. But it was too late. Shadows morphed around us, thickening and swirling, erasing the furniture, the walls, and any hope of escape. The girl's eyes widened as the darkness enveloped her, pulling her into the depths like a riptide dragging a swimmer under. "Let her go!" I shouted, panic surging like an electric current through me. Suddenly, the shadows were swirling faster, a frenzy of darkness that pressed against us, squeezing tighter and tighter, squeezing out our breath. I felt myself being pulled back against Jacob, and I didn't know if any of us would escape the suffocating grip. "Grab the box. It holds the key," the girl shouted, her voice nearly drowned out by a laugh that echoed all around us, a sinister, echoing chorus that I hesitated for only a moment, then lunged toward the box, my heart racing. With one forceful pull, I yanked it free and felt an instant shift. The darkness around us convulsed as if it were alive, recoiling from the object. The moment I held it aloft, a blinding light burst forth, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. I could see the girl fleetingly, her eyes filled with hope and desperation. "Please. Just trust me," she cried, but her form began to fade. "Run," Jacob urged again, and all at once, the threshold of the shack seemed to warp and tilt, the structure groaning under some unseen force. We raced toward the door just as a wall of shadows surged behind us, a dark tide that threatened to consume everything. I burst through the door and stumbled into the cool night air, gasping to fill my lungs. I turned back, clutching the box, torn between the pulse of fear driving me away and the desperate need to save her, but she was gone, vanished back into the vortex from which she had emerged. "What just happened?" Kyle gasped, looking around as if the trees would reveal the horrors that lay beneath their roots. "I don't know. I don't think we're safe yet," I murmured, clutching the box to my chest. The laughter returned, echoing in the trees, mocking us, hinting at what was to come. Did the box hold answers, or worse yet, more nightmares? As we stood there, breathing heavily, the scratches of a new problem clawed at my mind. What had I unleashed? The night air was thick with uncertainty, each breath a struggle against the remnants of that overwhelming darkness. I felt the weight of the jewelry box in my hands, its presence heavy with unresolved mysteries. Shadows elongated like fingers reaching out from the trees, whispering secrets I wasn't ready to hear. "What do we do now?" Jenny's voice trembled. Her eyes darted between the box and the dark woods as if expecting monsters to leap out at any moment. "First, we need to figure out what this," I glanced down at the box, "thing is." It felt almost alive, pulsing slightly in rhythm with my heartbeat, but I couldn't determine if that was fear playing tricks on my mind. "Open it," Kyle suggested, his resistance waning. "It could help her. It might help us." "Are you out of your mind?" Jenny shot back, backing away from the box. "We don't even know what it's capable of." "Someone used it for something," Jacob chimed in, stepping closer, tension crackling between us like a live wire. "If we don't open it, how will we even know what we're dealing with?" I weighed their words, glancing back toward the shack, a dark monument looming in my thoughts. The girl was down there, trapped in whatever nightmare this box was part of. With a shaky hand, I brushed the dust off the surface, revealing intricate designs that twisted like vines. "Okay. But if something goes wrong," I started, but the weight of fear made my voice disappear into a whisper. I took a breath, resolved to face whatever awaited us. My fingers fumbled with the latch. It clicked open, an echo loud against the silence of the night. The lid creaked as I lifted it, and a pulsing energy exploded from within, bathing us in a soft, eerie glow, inside lay a handful of trinkets, a tarnished locket, a delicate silver key, and a small, weathered note. As I picked up the note, a chill washed over me. The words were barely legible, but they sent a jolt of cold dread through my veins. Only the mark shall release the bound. Beware the darkness that hungers. What does that even mean? Jenny asked, her face pale. It means we have to be careful, I replied, scanning the trinkets. Maybe it's a key to free her. Or that mark. I turned the locket over in my hand. No mark was visible, but a strange energy shot through me the moment I gripped it. No one is going back into that shack, Kyle insisted, looking nervously at the trees. That girl's gone. We have to leave. Not without understanding what we unleashed. I shot back, driven by a sense of responsibility, tinged with the urgency of our own survival. Each passing moment felt precarious, tight as a noose around our necks. The woods seemed restless, shaking off the stillness, the darkness alive and breathing, a warning. And then, piercing through the whispers of the trees, we heard something else. A faint call broke the silence, a hesitant voice, calling from within the shadows. Help me. It was soft, like the wind calling out names lost in the dark. As if pulled by an invisible string, I found myself stepping forward, the box clutched tightly in hand. Wait. Jenny grabbed my arm, but it felt futile. The voice was calling to me, laced with urgency and desperation. Help me. It echoed again, and instead of fear, a fierce need surged within me, a need to know. Stay close, I instructed, my heart pounding like a war drum. My instincts urged me forward, but the shadows seemed poised to leap again. We edged back toward the shack, each step soaked in uncertainty. The world around us dimmed, and the faint call intensified, luring us closer into its grip. Suddenly, Jacob let out a gasp. Look! His voice cracked, pointing towards the door. In the doorway of the shack, shadows shifted, and from them emerged a figure, a darkness that took shape, swirling and coiling like a serpent. It locked eyes with me, and I was frozen, a concrete block of dread and curiosity. What have you come for? It hissed, its voice layered with the echoes of 1,000 tormented souls, and the air turned electric with tension. Were we willing to face the truth behind the box? Or had the true nightmare just begun? The figure loomed at the threshold, a shifting mass of shadow and despair. My heart pounded, each beat a mantra that screamed at me to run. There was a thickness in the air, a weight that pressed down on my chest as though the darkness itself sought to suffocate us. What do you want? I stumbled over the words, clenching the jewelry box tighter against my body. The glow from within flickered, casting strange patterns of light on the ground. As if in a dance with the darkness, the figure twisted its form, drawing closer. It exuded a cold energy that chilled my bones, yet I couldn't look away. You seek the girl, but her fate binds you to this place, it whispered, the voice an unsettling melody that sunk deep into the marrow of my bones. Release her. Kyle shouted, stepping forward, a burst of bravery against the vast unknown. The shadows recoiled momentarily, and I felt a surge of hope. Release? The figure laughed softly, an echo that resonated like a funeral dirge. Only the mark shall release the bound. The note's words echoed in my mind, their meaning unfurling like a sinister flower. The locket felt heavier in my palm, as if it held a truth I was not ready to uncover. What mark? What do you mean? Only the one who wears the mark can unbind the girl, the shadow responded, its voice now laced with mirth. But the darkness hungers, and it hungers for you too. Jenny whimpered softly, clutching Jacob's arm as if he were her lifeline amidst the chaos. Fear radiated from her, palpable and thick, mingling with the dread enveloping us. We need to get out of here, she whispered, a prayer in her tremulous voice. Leaving is not an option, the figure hissed, pulling back, revealing a vortex of torment swirling behind it. Faces flickered against the dark, their eyes wide and mouths open in silent screams. My stomach turned, a knot of fear and revulsion tightening with every passing second. Stop! I yelled, my voice breaking the suffocating silence. "We can help her. Just tell us how." I felt my breath quicken, panic clawing at my throat. The shadow hesitated, swirling and folding over itself like smoke caught in a windstorm. "The key, the locket, they must be united to reveal the truth." It pointed a finger, long and jagged, towards the box in my hands. "Then let us do it," I blurted, desperation fueling my next move. But Kyle's voice quivered. "What if we unleash something worse?" "No choice," I insisted, my grip tightening. The shadows were alive, restless, eager to crush us under their weight. "We're already in this deep." As I brought the locket close to the box, a sudden howl erupted from the forest, shaking the trees. A gust of wind flared, sending leaves flying everywhere. The figure recoiled sharply, its form flickering as though uncertain. "Time is running out," it hissed, desperation lacing its voice now. "Embrace the darkness, or be consumed by it." My breath caught in my throat. The universe felt like it was closing in around us. Whatever lurked in the depths of that shack would not be held back much longer. The urgency blared through my mind like a siren, and I could feel it, a promise wrapped in fear. "Do it, now," Jacob urged, eyes wide with panic, urging me silently toward a choice I wasn't sure I could make. That I took a deep breath, casting one last glance at my friends, their faces etched with terror and unease. The locket thrummed in my palm, a heartbeat to the looming shadow surrounding us. Then I plunged the locket into the box, ready to unearth the truth. With a sudden rush, the shack convulsed as light burst from within, flooding the dark forest. The ground shook beneath our feet, and the air filled with a cacophony of whispers, pleas, warnings, and something else darkly primal. "What have we done?" I screamed, fighting to keep my feet rooted to the ground, and just then, the darkness surged forward, reaching for us. In that moment, I understood the nightmare had only just begun, and the shadows weren't the only ones hungering for a release. "Stay together," I shouted, but a chaotic pull tugged at every direction, threatening to rip us apart. What awaited us in the torrent of light and darkness? Were we ready to confront the chilling aftermath of our choice? The moment I plunged the locket into the box felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss. Instantly, a blinding white light erupted, swallowing everything around us. My senses short-circuited, lost in an overwhelming brightness, flames dancing before my eyes. Then, the world twisted and turned a whirlwind of sound and light, chaos and screams. Suddenly, I was thrown back as the force of the explosion pushed against me. I crashed onto the wooden floor, pain shooting up my spine. The screams around me grew louder, drowning out any rational thought. A surreal tableau unfolded. Kyle, Jenny, Jacob, their faces contorted in fear. They were battling against the pull of the shadows, arms outstretched, desperate to hold on to something real. "Get up!" Jacob shouted through the cacophony, but my limbs felt like lead. I forced myself to stand, heart racing. The shack trembled, the air vibrating with the energy released. The box lay open on the floor, its glowing light creating shadowy images that writhed against the walls. Each flicker cast distorted reflections of the figures, me, my friends, the looming shadow, and something else. Something darker, creeping at the edges. "Close the box," Kyle yelled, panic etched in every line of his face. "We don't know what we've done." I glanced down at the box. Could we even contain what we had unleashed? With every second, the light grew dimmer, the darkness growing bolder, thicker. A piercing scream erupted nearby. I turned, feeling my chest constrict as I watched Jenny being pulled back into the shadows, her legs dragging against the wooden floor like she was running in quicksand. "Help me!" she cried, her hands grasping at the air, begging for a lifeline. "No!" My voice burst out, as if I could physically snatch her back. I lunged towards her, but the darkness swirled faster, encircling her with tendrils of shadow that writhed like snakes. Panic surged through me as I reached for her, but my hands grasped nothing but air. The figure was back, swirling in the doorway like a storm. The girl is bound to the darkness, it hissed, its laughter a jarring melody against the storm of chaos. She cannot be released without sacrifice. Sacrifice? I echoed, horror flooding my veins. An unthinkable weight settled in my stomach. Jenny's cries turned frantic. You can't. Don't leave me. She thrashed against the shadows, desperation igniting in her eyes. Straining against my instincts, I turned to the others. We need to help her. We can't let her go. I can't watch this. Kyle shouted, tears in his eyes as he looked from Jenny to the swirling chaos longing to consume her. He was breaking. What do we do? Focus. Jacob yelled, clenching his fists. We unite together. The light still holds power. He stretched out an arm toward the glowing box, determination steaming from his very being. The locket pulsated, a dull throb matching the beat of my heart. Gathering every ounce of courage I had left, I turned to the box and shouted, we can't just leave her. If holding the box together can save Jenny, then we need to try. Each friend's gaze fell on the box, hope shimmering through our fear. With one last shared glance, we rushed toward the light. But as we formed a circle around Jenny, the darkness writhed in a frenzy, seeking to tear us apart in its insatiable hunger. Our collective fear ignited the shadows, each scream becoming a haunting melody that nipped at the edges of our sanity. As I grasped the box, I felt it. A wave reverberated through my body, a pulse of warmth cutting through the waves of dread. It was a beacon, but also a ticking clock, a reminder that unless we acted, everything we loved would vanish. Now! I yelled, and we breathed in unison, channeling our strength into the box. Just then, a chilling realization hit me. What if the cost was higher than we anticipated? The shadows roared louder, pulling at our hearts, whispering secrets that shouldn't be spoken. What would we have to sacrifice to save her? A single, terrible thought broke through the collective shield of resolve. I was willing to risk it all. But would that be enough? Stay with me, Jenny. Just stay with us. But was that promise enough to bind the darkness? The fight was far from over, and everything was about to change. The moment we exhaled, a shockwave surged through the air. It mingled with a deafening roar, and for a heartbeat, everything was still too still. The shadows pulsed, black and visceral, almost alive, swirling around us in a tempest of madness. Their tendrils whipped through the air like angry serpents, curling close enough to graze my skin. Push! Jacob screamed, his voice rising above the chaos. The energy from the box surged through us, coursing like an adrenaline-fueled river. I felt its heat, a burning beacon that fought against the sinister pull of the dark. Jenny's screams morphed into a chilling echo, piercing through the enveloping fog like a knife. Don't let go. Please. Her eyes, wide and pleading, bore into mine, begging for a lifeline. Every plea felt like a dagger to my heart, twisting deeper with each pulse of the shadows. Remember our pact, Kyle shouted, his voice cracking under the weight of desperation. We swore we'd stand together. He reached out, gripping my shoulder with a fierce hold, as though our bond could somehow repel the dark forces. I clung to his hand, as much for support as for the glimmer of hope it provided. A gust of wind swept through the shack, chilling me to the bone. It swept past our circle, rushing towards Jenny, who flailed against the shadows, her struggles growing feebler by the second. I could feel the panicked rhythm of her heartbeat from joy to terror, like a storm overtaking a calm sea. We must become the light. Jacob's shout broke through the chaos. Can we? I wondered, a flicker of doubt sparking deep in my chest. Yet there was no time for fear. We had no option but to fight, to resist. As we united our hands over the box, something extraordinary happened. It glowed brighter. The shadows screeched, a monstrous reaction to our determination. The darkness recoiled momentarily, caught off guard by our unity. Was it possible? Could our combined wills truly overpower the abyss? Keep holding. I called out, my voice steadier than I felt, pushing against the tide of despair. Each moment we stood strong, I felt a ripple of warmth flickering in the air surrounding us. The pulsing from the locket intensified, becoming almost rhythmic, a heartbeat we could all feel, but a deep rumble pulled me back to reality. An ominous presence rippled throughout the shack. The malevolence grew, darkening our minds, wrapping around our hearts like an insidious vine. And with it came whispered promises of release, the temptation to surrender. You can save her. Just let go of your fears, let go of each other. The figure loomed closer, its voice as smooth as silk yet laced with a threatening undertone. It crawled through my mind, sowing seeds of doubt, tracing cool fingers along my spine, sending chills racing through my body. No! Jacob roared, ripping us from the spell. We won't give in. We won't. His words struck a nerve, igniting a blaze of courage within me. I glanced at the glowing box, the flickering light amplifying, and there it was, an answer. I reached deeper into my memories, the cherished moments with my friends, the laughter and the bonds we forged. Think of everything we've shared. I shouted, urging them to channel their individuality into a singular force of hope. Suddenly, another scream pierced through, louder this time, a cruel laugh that chilled my blood. The darkness lashed out, wrapping tighter around Jenny, and I barely contained the surge of panic rising within me. No! We'll save her. We have to. We concentrated on the box, feeding it the essence of our love, our memories. The shadows stopped twisting and began to shake, a reaction almost like fear. But then, in the chaos, something broke. A crack appeared between the shadows, a blinding light pouring through a path. Maybe the sacrifice had been given unknowingly, and we just needed to take the leap. Jenny! I screamed again, reaching out, desperate to grasp her hand. Would we shatter the darkness, or would it consume us all? The answer lingered in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Time froze as we stood on the precipice of choice, but the moment we wavered, a sharp gust threw us back, and everything began to unravel. The shack around us groaned, a warning, a prelude to disaster. So, did our unity save her, or would the darkness claim us all? The specter loomed closer, whispering sweet lies of despair. I felt my chest tighten, the weight of the unknown crushing my breath. What would it cost us to unravel the truth? The wind howled through the trees, carrying with it an unnatural cold. The shack shuddered, its rotting wood creaking as if sensing the storm gathering within and around us. The shadows rippled, a dark sea boiling with anticipation, and all at once, the collective dread turned into action. Stick together! I shouted, my voice hoarse but unwavering. We huddled closer, hands tightening over the glowing box held high. It pulsated with energy, wafting warmth against the primal chill. A force surged between us, our bond transforming into a lifeline. I could feel Jenny's fear radiating, mixing with our determination. We have to trust each other. Just hold on. Kyle shouted, and we all aimed our concentrated energy toward Jenny, a silent pact forming at that moment of chaos. The shadows twisted and churned, their frustration turning palpable. The laughter rose, echoing around us, but this sound was different, filled with anger and hunger. You cannot save her. The figure barked, the smog of its presence thickening the air. But we refused to yield. The shack trembled beneath us, groaning as if it were tearing at its seams. I closed my eyes for a heartbeat, envisioning moments of joy we had shared, swinging high from branches, late-night whispers, bonfires igniting with laughter. Each joyful memory burst forth, pooling light around us as if we were crafting a shield against the encroaching dark. Now! Jacob shouted, and we took a unified collective breath. As we exhaled, brilliant light erupted from the box, forcing the shadows to recoil. A burst of energy pulsed through the air, racing outward. The darkness screamed, a banshee wail that resonated like thunder. Jenny! I shouted, reaching out my hands, grasping nothing but air as the darkness wrapped around her tighter, squeezing the breath from her lungs. But deep inside, a small spark whispered. Have faith. The darkness twisted, seething in response, but uncertainty gnawed at its core. It could feel our resolve, and for a fleeting moment, doubt seeped into its anger. Open your eyes to the light. The command rang out like an ancient battle cry. The very fabric of the night shimmered as beams pushed through. Jenny's eyes widened, catching sight of our light. Together, we screamed in unison, letting raw emotion pour into our plea. Jenny's terror reflected back at us, striking with gut-wrenching sorrow, but now, the pulsing energy danced around her too. And as if drawn by an invisible force, the shadows began to recede, slowing their suffocating encroach. You think you can escape? The figure howled, but hesitation crept into its voice. Let her go. I yelled again, fury igniting my words. The whirlwind shifted, fragments of the shadows broke apart, releasing Jenny just enough for me to stretch my hand. My fingers grazed her wrist. A tingle shot through me, transferring warmth into her frozen limbs. A moment was all it took. Jenny blinked, and in that instant, she found us, our arms, our unwavering commitment. Hold on to me. With a fierce yank, I pulled her free from the shadow's grasp as the remaining darkness flirted at our ankles, furious but thwarted. Then, with an explosive burst, the shack cracked apart, the walls collapsing beneath the energy we conjured. A massive surge blasted forth, casting the shadows back into the depths from whence they came. The laughter transformed into shrieks, fragmented cries dispersing as they faded into the night. Light filled the splintering space, radiant and unapologetic, engulfing us. In a blinding flash, we were thrust from the grip of the shack and tumbled into an open clearing beneath the starry sky. The crisp air felt like a rebirth, every breath a sweet reminder of survival. I scrambled to my feet, looking around. Did we make it? Gazing back toward the remnants of the shack, shadows had retreated into mere wisps, leaving only a quiet darkness layered beneath the stars. In the midst, the box lay intact, radiating a soft glow, a promise that echoes of the past had not entirely vanished. Jenny. I exhaled, pulling her close as we all collapsed in a chaotic but relieved tangle. Tears streamed down her face, mirroring our shared relief that seeped into the night. Thank you, she gasped, trembling. I thought, but you're here. I interrupted fiercely, relief flooding through me. We're all here. But just as the tension started to lift, the box flickered ominously. What did we unleash? Kyle whispered, staring at the small trinkets still nestled inside, their energy swirling softly. I don't know, I admitted, dread threading through me again, but a pulse of certainty echoed within. But we should find out. Together. The hollow laughter from the woods faded, but a lingering anxiety filled the air. We wouldn't let fear claim us again. We'd face whatever came next together, and despite the unknown stretching before us, beneath it was the unwavering strength of our bond, the foundation built through fear turned into courage, and the promise of each other lighting the shadows in our path. As we stood in the clearing, preparing to breathe life back into this tale of survival, I couldn't shake the feeling. Our journey had only just begun, but the direction would be determined in unity, through the shared weight of every choice made and the haunting shadows we continued to evade. So, as the dawn broke, we were united, ready to confront whatever darkness lay ahead, because this bond would never waver again. Now, here's where you come into play. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on the next thrilling stories that are just around the corner. Smash that like button like it's a piece of darkness you want to defeat. It really helps the algorithm find other true horror fans like you. And flood the comments section with your thoughts. What do you think about the ending? What do you think we'll face next? Let us hear your theories. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be part of this journey. They'll thank you later. Your support makes all the difference. Together, we can keep unraveling the greatest stories of all.